Hello and welcome to the Should You Buy for the Fafnir. We're going to take a look at the mech, its stats, its hardpoints, its possible hitboxes based on the concept art, and make the determination of whether or not you should buy it. Now, I originally thought this mech was going to come out with the Civil War packages, because when I was theory crafting what was going to come in the Civil War, what better to show off Heavy Gauss than the Fafnir, as we see these two humongous just Gauss rounds here, just blowing things away. But it did not come out until now, but it's here now. Let's scroll down and take a look through the packages. We have the standard pack for the standard of $20, the collector pack for $40, and it has the 3 base variants of the 5, 5B, and 6U, with the collector's pack having the 5 with a special variant of it with a 30% seatbelt boost. Of course, these comes with mech pays to house them, 30 days of active premium in the standard, 60 days in the collectors, and various cockpit items and badges and titles. We have the add-on packages, which are the Hero for 15, for the Wraith, or Wrath, no I in there, and the reinforcements for the 5E and the 6R. We're going to take a look at whether purchasing those add-ons is required, if it's a little pay to win, pay to optimize. We're going to take a little evaluation of that. And then the Ultimate Pack for $70, which is absolutely everything all together, and just added up, which would be nice if this was $5 to $10 off, buying things individually to promote getting a big package all at once. That way, oh yeah, you're dropping a whole bunch of money right now? Well, here's an extra thank you, sort of thing. But, moving on, early adopter awards. I am a bit late because I had some computer issues, but we are back up and running and in time for the early adopter awards. So before January 31st, you still have a fair amount of time in order to make those, but it is just cosmetics. So we have some cockpit items, we have the Davion and Steiner patterns for all your Fafnirs, we got some decals, some colors, these are new colors, which is quite nice, and then some game currency to help you equip them once they're on the battlefield. Now, to go through the Fafnir, it is a 100-tonner with a max engine rating of 325, so it is a battle mech, it is inner sphere. All of them come with double heat sinks, which is a nice thing to have, because then you don't have to pay the 1.5 million in double heat sink tax in order to get them able to go on the battlefield. No jump jets for any of these mechs, but there are several with ECM. We've got the 5, the 5B, and the Hero with ECM. The rest of them do not have it, and nobody has mask. Now, popping over to the spreadsheet warrior, we have the possible engines, types, and ratings that we could use on this thing. Now, just need to pop back here and look at the concept art again for a second. I'm not going to say ever want to use an XL on this. Right? I make sure I did all my double negatives and all that kind of stuff. Never use an XL on this because you can see these side torsos are quite large, and so we are going to be recommending a standard or a light engine depending on what you want to do. So that is why I don't have the XL in here, because it's just not relevant. It would be incorrect to use it. Our tonnage is 100, which means we have all of the possible. We're the biggest mech in the battlefield. And our engine rating is only 325. That's not a very high engine rating for a 100-tonner. This mech is going to feel sluggish like an Annihilator. It is a little bit faster, if I'm not mistaken. The Annihilator max is at 300. My god, I don't play Annihilators enough to remember this off the top of my head, but it is going to be slow, maybe even painfully slow in some situations. So we do have the ratings, which are the break points, where the you get that extra heatsink in the engine, or you get that extra slot in the engine, as well as you can have an additional rating with no weight. So 250, 280, 300, 325. You're most likely just going to always take either a 300 or a 325 in either light or standard, because you're still getting a fair amount of pod space, 55 tons, from the light 300 down to the heaviest, which would be a standard 325 at 45 tons. It's still an incredible amount of firepower that you can take with that. I am going with Endo because it is more effective than Pharaoh, and I'm staying with standard armor, although this may be finessed depending on the build, because we have the issue of available slots. This is always an issue with inner sphere mechs, is that their structure and armor upgrades take 14 slots compared to the Clan 7, and therefore they typically can only take one of the two, where clans can sometimes take both. So might be some issues there with running out of slots. If 33 or 37 slots is more than enough, you could possibly pop this to light Pharaoh, and if I propagate that few through, it'll take a second there and I'll update. We have 27 slots or 31 slots, and we can get a little bit of extra tonnage out of it. So that's a possibility, but we're looking basically around 50% of our weight is going to be with weaponry, which is quite nice. Now, these are battle mechs, so we're going to look through them vertically here. So starting with the 5, 5B, and 6U for the standard pack, then we'll look at the 2 reinforcements, and then the hero. So the 5, which is also the special one if you get the collector's pack, has a total of 3 energy, 1 in the head, 1 in the left arm, 1 in the right arm, and 4 ballistic, 2 in each side torso, as well as ECM in the CT. Now ECM is always in the CT throughout all of these, so it's not like that ECM is going to get in the way of something like a heavy Gauss rifle. It's not like it's stuck in a side torso and you have to choose big ballistic or ECM and a smaller ballistic. You can take the big weapon and take the ECM. Important to note, I'm actually filming this after they did a patch. Well, not after they did the patch. They've announced the patch notes where they have increased the range of heavy Gauss rifles by, I believe, 40 meters from 180 to 220, if I'm not mistaken, for their effective range, and that boosts their maximum range from 900 something to like 1100. So that's giving heavy Gauss some extra reach, which is a nice bonus for the Fafnir, because heavy Gauss is going to be a pretty nice weapon on it, and heavy Gauss is a powerful weapon for inner sphere assaults right now. The Cyclops hero with heavy Gauss, there's God, I can't think of things. Mauler with heavy Gauss. They're very strong mechs. Just before we start talking about some of the positions of these, like for some of the hard points, is the cockpit is pretty much in line with the majority of the hard points. I would expect that to continue through to the game. So this thing might be a pretty decent ridge peaker with these hard points, so we're going to keep that in mind when we're discussing builds about this. And as an added bonus, because I am late in making my video, there's a whole bunch of already done theory crafting online that I can reference to in order to talk about the possible builds. So we have 3 energy and 4 ballistic. Well, what can we do with this? Well, there's obviously basically an upgrade of the standard build. This comes with a pair of heavy Gauss rifles and some ER mediums. Just armor it up in the right places, move some things around, add a little bit more ammo. You're good. And you are kicking some ass with a pair of heavy Gauss rifles. You have the ECM in order to keep you relatively covered from the opposing forces, and just basically keep the missiles off your back. You're still going to be able to be shot, of course, as people can see you, but it's a little bit easier to move around the battlefield and not turn up as a radar mark or get some LRMs heading towards your location. Alternatively, you can use the 4 ballistic with things such as, say, 4 UAC 5s and some energy weapon backups, or you can do rotaries. I could probably do, like, can you fit quad 5 rotaries? Maybe. If you strip the arms, maybe. But then you could do like quad 2 rotaries, just 2 until they jam, then the other 2 until they jam, and then back and forth and back and forth. Be quite interesting. Next up here we have the 5B, which is more of an energy focused build. We have at 1 energy in the head, just like the first one, but the energy in the arms is increased by 1, and the ballistics in the side torsos has been decreased by 1. So 1 energy in the head, 2 energy in each arm, and 1 ballistic in each side torso. So this would probably be a good opportunity for things such as Gauss laser VOM. We have the ability to take 2 regular Gauss rifles and then, say, mass ER large lasers, maybe some large pulse and ER medium combos, maybe just large pulse, like 3 large pulse and 2 Gauss rifles. I don't know if that would fit, but it sounds exciting. Depends on how much weight and ammo and what engine you end up taking. But yeah, and also you could do a pretty decent brawler with this as well, because you could go with a pair of, say, AC-20s, 1 in each side torso, and then some medium pulse lasers, some medium lasers, again, depending on the weight and your heat budget. But you could basically come around the corner, have the firepower of both an AC-40 Jaeger and a pulse laser medium stuffed together into one assault mech, and all under the cover of ECM. The Fafnir 6U goes into sort of the flipperoo, like we saw the Mauler hero did different for Maulers, and the King Crab hero did different for King Crabs, where your expected locations for things are being swapped around. So where previously the energy was in the arms and the ballistic was in the side torsos, we now have 2 ballistic in each arm and 2 energy in each side. So 4 ballistic, 4 energy. Very similar builds to some of the previous ones. You can do the mass lasers and a pair of Gauss. You can do the DACA, like the 4 UAC 5s, and some backup energy weapons. Important to note, these have only the upper arm actuator. They do not have lower arm actuators, so therefore you will not have any side-to-side movement. It'll just be up and down. But it does allow you to aim up with your ballistics if required. So if you are in a location where an enemy is up above you, say on a hill, you can aim up with your heavier weapons and get a shot on them. There could be some convergence issues because you're firing from 2 far sides of the mech and converging in to hit your opponent. So if you're not aiming directly at them, your convergence will be set kind of funky. So say if you have to lead them, and that could throw off your shots. So that's maybe an issue. But it would still function fairly well. I mean, as long as those arms are high enough that they are not knuckle draggers. But yeah, very similar to the previous ones. No ECM capability to it. And might be, depending on how big those arms end up being. Because if we look back here, those arms are, like, they've got this shield on it. So the arms may or may not be easy to shoot off. They have this big shield, but then there's just a little stub. And then, is this all side torso? Is the arms like these little stubs on the sides? Maybe they're actually really safe and the side torsos are going to be the first to be going. So if you have ballistics there, that's actually a good thing. Don't know yet. We'd have to see those hitboxes when they eventually come out. But it's interesting. Important to note, you can't do heavy Gauss on this because heavy Gauss won't fit because it'll have the upper arm actuator. I believe the heavy Gauss won't fit. Might be crazy, but I believe it won't fit because you need the entire open side torso in order to do a heavy Gauss rifle. Now, onto the reinforcements. We've got the Fafnir 5E, which is the first one with missiles. We've got 2 missiles in each arm and 2 ballistic in each side torso. So again, you can do all the same ballistic builds that you've done with the 5 and the 6U with their 4 ballistic. You know, your 4 UAC 5s, your double heavy Gauss, all that kind of stuff can be done on this one. But then additionally, what you can do is you can do some more splat type designs. So you could put on, say, a pair of LB10s and some SRM4, not SRM4s, SRM6s with Artemis. So 4 SRM6 with Artemis, a pair of LB10s, Sure, that probably will fit on there, or something along those lines. Maybe the two 10s could be put into one LB20, and you could have sort of a brawler kind of feeling to it. Additionally, you could do with, say, 4 MRM 10s and some mid-range ballistics to give sort of a fire support design to it. You could do main ballistics as your weapons, but then you could have some streaks on the arms in order to be a better defense against lights than a couple energy weapons. So you could have some streak 6s, which are good damage anyway, that sandblasting the opponent's armor, but then also have a pair of Gauss rifles or something, so you can plug enemy heavies and assaults with the Gausses at range, and then if a light sneaks behind you, all you have to do is just go flick and destroy them with some streak missiles. Kind of interesting. And if you truly want to, you can learn, but that would be for you. Moving on to the Fafnir 6R, we have sort of a kitchen sink of all these hard points. We have an energy and a missile in each arm, and we have an energy and a ballistic in each torso. So 4 energy, 2 ballistic, 2 missile. You need to, like, this can be an interesting one to build, because it's going to have a lot of really interesting designs to it. Because each one, 6R, you see on the battlefield might be completely unique. One could be like 2 MERM 40s and some energy weapons. And then another could be a pair of heavy Gauss. And then another could be some LRMs. Another could be like 4 PPCs. There's a lot that you can do with this particular mech, but you're going to have to think about using those energy, using those hard points correctly. Because it isn't like the previous ones where you had, say, 4 ballistic or like 4 missile. You had a lot of the more powerful, when you're heavy, hardpoint types. When you're at this weight, you need like 3 or 4 ballistic. You need like 4 or 5 missile in order to have a really powerful hit, where the 4 energy is just sort of okay. You're going to have to combine those in an interesting way. It makes this one difficult to theorycraft for, but it's going to be interesting. It's still going to be effective, but it feels like its build diversity is going to be wild and might be inconsistent. Interesting one, though. And then the last one, the Wrath, we have, what we got? 1 energy in the head, 1 energy in the left arm, so 2. Then there's 2 more energy here in the left torso, so 4. And a 5th energy in the right arm, so 5 energy. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 missile, and 1 ballistic. So 5 energy, 4 missile, 1 ballistic, and ECM. Interesting. You can do the same sort of brawl type builds where you did the missiles and ballistic from the 5E. You do like the 4 SERM 6s with an LB20 or something along those lines in order to just be a nice splat with our ECM, which would help us get into that shorter range combat, because we have ECM, and therefore we're not being spotted as early, and we're not being LRM'd as we move into position. Alternatively, we could do things like a laser VOM. We could do like a couple large pulse lasers and some ER mediums. The 1 energy in the head is crit limited to 1 slot, so we can't do anything beyond the largest thing there would be a medium pulse. But we could do an ER medium there, ER mediums spread out across the body, except for maybe a pair of large pulse, 1 in each arm maybe, and then a heavy Gauss in one of the side torsos, the right torso here, and then ECM, so you could do like a Gauss energy combo. Some interesting things you can do here. This thing can LRM, this thing can mass MRM, so some choices to it. Overall, I think the standard pack is probably has all of your choices and does everything that the Fafnir can do, and the reinforcements and the hero just sort of do them in slightly different ways. It's not like they're objectively better than the standard pack. They're more just like, hey, you liked playing that standard pack variant, let's do it slightly differently and see if that's fresh for you, sort of feeling. So no issues I feel about these being overpowered compared to the standard pack. And so if you just want to get the standard pack, that's fine by me. And we're going to pop up here and just take a look at the art and the possible hitboxes, because this thing feels like it's made of side torso. And it's good that we came up and we were on the hero's paint job, because this one, I feel, shows off what might be the hitboxes the best. We have this blue coloring in it, and we can see this blue coloring covering these little sort of starting to go into the shoulder and down to here sort of thing. This area could be CT comparatively for the mech, which could leave the side to be here. Still, the sides are quite large on this thing. I feel that this mech will be quite easy to side torso with focused fire and will not be able to roll damage that well compared to other mechs. Like we said before, these arms from the side are actually fairly large with a shield here, which could be good for tanking, especially if this was pulled forward a bit more. But from the front, these arms are actually going to be quite small, so they may stick around depending on how you're piloting the mech. Hardpoint locations, the sort of the lowest here is sort of chin level, so if you can see it, you're most likely only going to need to take about one step more in order to get all of your weapons on target, unless I wonder how when they have this single ballistic hole here for the heavy Gauss, where's the second ballistic going to go when they have dual ballistics there? Because we've seen that with the Hunchback 4G, for example, where we had the main ballistic, which is supposed to be the AC-20, and then when they did their dynamic weapons pass on it, that main ballistic stays there, but then they had like this little square below it that was for the second ballistic. And it looks weird if you have, say, a machine gun in the top one and a Gauss rifle in the low one. It just looks funny. So I wonder how they're going to do it there. It's all going to be dynamic and fit inside this, so maybe. But otherwise, decent weapon level. Only concerns about this thing would be how much of this is side torso, how much is it center torso. How easy is this thing going to be to side torso? Because, I don't know, it kind of screams like a Timberwolf with the LRMs on it. Side torso me. And then the last thing to speculate is quirks. What could this possibly get for quirks in order to make it viable? I feel like it maybe needs some durability on those sides. So probably just like torso durability across the mech. I don't see it having anything on the arms because the arms look too small to have a lot of durability added to them. And then some durability across the torsos. I'm not sure about what you would put on there for weapon stats or anything, but I can see this thing getting some moderate level durability quirks, with the one exception being the one that has all the ballistic in the arms, the 6U, probably getting some higher arm quirks because a lot of its firepower would be in those arms that could be shot off. But that's going to be my theory crafting for this thing and the should you buy. So if you like the big old mechs with heavy Gauss rifles and a little bit of sneakiness with the ECM, this would probably be in your court. I wish this mech maybe got a little bit higher of an engine rating. Give me a 350 if I want to go a little bit faster. I'm not going to break the speed limit. I just want to not be at the back of the pack. At least we'll be able to outrun Annihilators in this thing. But if you're going to get it, you can get the standard pack now and then see how it performs later, as that will get you the pre-order bonuses. But you don't have to go full in yet, as I don't see the reinforcements in the hero as being super great, but functional. That's going to be it for now. Thanks for watching, and good hunting.